what if the reason you can't speak a new language or master a new software program or even play the guitar has absolutely nothing to do with your intelligence and like everything to do with how complicated your thoughts are?
It's a universally humbling paradox, honestly. I mean, you spend weeks, maybe months, just devouring information. You read the books, you color code your notes, you watch all the tutorial videos, right?
I'm really guilty of the color coding.
Right. And in your head, you're an absolute master. But then the second you actually have to generate the skill in real time, the brain just, completely short circuits.
It's the worst feeling. Yeah. Anyway, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're unpacking a stack of notes from an introductory language learning guide.
Yeah, specifically, it's this foundational audio lesson aimed at beginners trying to learn English.
Exactly. But here is why you should care, even if you already speak English perfectly, right? Because while the source material is explicitly about language acquisition, the psychological hurdles it addresses apply to learning literally any complex new skill.
Oh, absolutely. It functions as a masterclass in the psychology of starting. Because the hosts of this audio guide, they're ostensibly teaching vocabulary, but what they're actually doing is dismantling those invisible cognitive barriers that keep us from taking action.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission today is to distill this seemingly simple language guide into a practical blueprint for you. We want to look at how to overcome the paralyzing fear of starting, how to break down the actual biological mechanics of daily practice, and most importantly, how to shift the way you think so you can achieve actual fluency in whatever it is you're trying to learn.
Because the very first revelation in our source material, it just completely upends how most of us approach education.
Yeah, it does.
The guide explicitly states that to start speaking a language, you do not need perfect grammar and you do not need a flawless accent. The only true baseline requirement is what they call the courage to start speaking.
The courage to start, which sounds simple, but we're so heavily conditioned by traditional schooling to believe that performance requires perfection. Like you study until you're flawless, and only then do you take the test.
Exactly. But this guide strips that safety net away immediately.
It points out this incredibly common phenomenon. People understand English perfectly well when they hear it or read it. But the second they have to open their mouths, they freeze. They become incredibly nervous.
Oh, it happens all the time.
It makes me think of sports, honestly.
Yeah.
The gap between passive understanding and active speaking is exactly like sitting on the couch, yelling at the referee on your TV, knowing exactly what play the team should run.
Right. Armchair quarterback.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if someone dropped you onto the field with 80,000 people watching, you would completely lock up.
What's fascinating here is what is happening there on a psychological level. It's a massive shift in vulnerability. Well, passive understanding, like sitting on the couch, listening to a deep dive, reading a book, it feels incredibly safe. You're absorbing information, but you're not exposing your own competence to the world.
Oh, right. Nobody knows if you're actually getting it or not.
Exactly. But active speaking, or actively doing any new skill, requires you to generate something original and put it out there. And the source material pinpoints the exact root cause of this paralysis. It's the fear of making mistakes.
Sure, but let's pause there and look at reality for a second. The guide delivers this very empowering line, mistakes are not your enemy. They are your teacher.
It's a great quote.
It sounds great on a bumper sticker. But when you're in a high-stakes board meeting or you're trying to pitch a client, a mistake could cost you promotion. It has a real social and financial cost. So how does this guide actually help you overcome the very real, very terrifying social cost of sounding foolish?
That is the exact friction every learner faces. And it's why we have to look deeper into the psychology at play here. When you feel that immense social pressure you're describing, your brain triggers a stress response.
Like fight or flight.
Exactly. In linguistics, there's a mental model for this called the affective filter hypothesis.
Okay, the affective filter hypothesis.
Essentially, when your anxiety is high or your self-esteem is low, your brain creates a literal physical block. The amygdala, the fear center of your brain, it just hijacks your processing power.
Wow. So it literally shuts you down.
It does. Even if the vocabulary is stored in your memory, the heightened emotional state prevents you from accessing it.
Wait, so the fear of sounding foolish literally makes you sound foolish because you can't access the information you already know.
Precisely. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the guide's instruction to reframe mistakes as teachers rather than enemies, it's not just motivational fluff, it's a cognitive intervention.
A cognitive intervention. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, because when you accept that every single English speaker makes mistakes, even native speakers, as the source points out, you begin to lower that affective filter. You're signaling to your amygdala that a mistake isn't a threat to your survival, you know? It's just data.
Just data. I like that.
When you make an error, your brain registers the gap between what you intended and what actually happened, and it recalibrates. But you can't recalibrate if you're too afraid to generate the initial data.
Okay, so we disarm the fight or flight response.
Yeah.
We accept that making a mistake isn't a terminal diagnosis for our intelligence. But wait, confidence without action is just delusion, right?
Oh, totally.
Like believing in yourself doesn't magically download vocabulary into your brain or teach you how to write Python code. So how does the guide actually bridge that gap from feeling okay about mistakes to actually making progress?
Well, this is where it moves into a very rigid structural protocol, which the source defines through 3 specific vocabulary words: confidence, practice, and improve.
The core triad of growth. The guide defines confidence as believing in yourself. But they do something really interesting here. Later in the audio, they give the listener a multiple choice quiz.
Oh, the quiz.
Yeah. The question asks, what does confidence mean? And the options are A, fear, B, believing in yourself, or C, sleeping.
That quiz question is brilliant because it perfectly illustrates the behavioral choices of a learner. I mean, fear is the active opposition to confidence. It's the affective filter we just discussed.
Right. And sleeping.
Sleeping represents passive avoidance. It's the refusal to engage entirely, procrastinating, making excuses, deciding you're going to learn someday.
Oh, I've definitely been in the sleeping category.
We all have. By juxtaposing these 3, the guide establishes that confidence isn't some innate personality trait you're just born with. It's the active, conscious choice to engage with the material rather than retreating into fear or avoidance.
Which leads to the mechanism of that engagement, right? Practice. The source defines practice as doing something again and again to become better, and it gives a very specific benchmark.
Right, the 30 minutes.
Exactly. Through a sample dialogue, it highlights a student who practices for 30 minutes every day to achieve their goal of speaking fluently. And the quiz reinforces this, confirming you should practice every day, not once a month.
Which is key.
But I want to push back on this daily 30-minute rule for a second. If you're listening to this right now and thinking, I barely have time to make coffee, let alone dedicate 30 uninterrupted minutes to a new skill, what does that mean? Like, is 30 minutes a magic scientific number? Does skipping a day ruin the whole process?
So the 30 minutes itself isn't a magic number, but the frequency doing it every single day absolutely is a neurobiological mandate.
Early. Every day.
Yeah. The guide uses simple words like practice, but what it's actually prescribing is a rigid protocol for neuroplastic adaptation. When you learn a new language, you are physically altering the structure of your brain. You're building new neural pathways.
So how does doing it daily change that structure compared to, say, cramming for 3 hours on a Sunday?
It comes down to a biological mechanism involving a substance called myelin.
Myelin.
Okay, yeah. Myelin is a fatty tissue that wraps around the neural circuits in your brain. Think of your initial attempts to speak a new language as like a dial-up internet connection.
Oh man, the dial-up noises.
Yeah.
So slow.
Right. The signal is slow, it's noisy, and it drops constantly. But every time you practice, your brain wraps another layer of myelin around that specific neural pathway. It acts as insulation, making the electrical signal travel faster and more efficiently.
So you're basically upgrading your brain from dial-up to fiber optic speed.
Exactly. But here's the catch. Myelin is heavily dependent on frequency, not just duration.
Okay, so cramming doesn't work.
Right. If you practice for 3 hours on a Sunday and then do nothing for 6 days, the brain essentially says, well, we aren't using this pathway enough to justify maintaining it, and the structural gains begin to degrade.
Oh wow. Use it or lose it.
Literally. But if you practice for 20 or 30 minutes every single day, you're constantly signaling to your nervous system that this pathway is vital. You're continuously laying down that myelin sheath. That relentless consistency is what transforms conscious, difficult effort into automatic fluency.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And that biological reality perfectly explains the third word in the guide's triad, improve.
Yes, become better.
Right. The source defines it as become better. It treats improvement not as a mystery or a genetic gift, but as the inevitable mathematical result of the equation. You make the active choice of confidence, you lay down the myelin through daily practice, and improvement is the guaranteed byproduct.
It completely demystifies talent, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
Okay, so the biological infrastructure is there. We're laying down the fiber optic cable with our 30 minutes a day. But when you actually open your mouth or sit down at the keyboard or pick up the instrument, how do you avoid sounding like a broken robot?
Right, the actual execution.
Because this is where the guide introduces a concept that completely shifted how I view my own internal learning process. It gives this crucial central tip. Don't translate every sentence from your language into English.
This is undoubtedly the most critical technical insight in the entire source material.
The guide instructs learners that instead of agonizing over what is the English equivalent of this highly complex sentence, they should instead think in simple English.
Keep it simple.
Right. It tells them to lean on basic, direct thoughts. I am happy. I am hungry. I am tired. I'm busy today. And it anchors this entirely in one massive core thesis. Simple thoughts create fluent speakers.
Simple thoughts create fluent speakers. It sounds reductive at first, I know, but it's actually a profound application of cognitive load theory.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because it makes total sense if you think about it like a middleman.
A middleman.
Yeah, translating in your head is like trying to have a conversation through a really incompetent middleman. You hear the English sentence, you hand it off to the middleman in your brain to translate it into your native language. You formulate your witty, nuanced native response, hand it back to the middleman, wait for the English translation to be generated, and then finally you speak.
That's exhausting just to hear.
Exactly. By the time you've done all that, the person you're talking to has already checked their phone and walked away. You have to cut out the middleman to keep the conversation alive.
This raises an important question, though. The middleman analogy is perfect because it highlights the mechanical delay. But we have to ask, why do we instinctively rely on that middleman in the first place? Why do we torture ourselves trying to translate?
Right, why do we do it to ourselves?
The answer is that as adults, we possess incredibly sophisticated thoughts. You have a rich internal life. You understand irony, nuance, professional jargon. So when you learn a new skill, a language in this case, your ego demands that you express your highly complex native thoughts immediately in the new, unfamiliar medium.
Oh man, so we want to debate philosophy when our current toolkit only allows us to say, the cat is on the table.
Exactly. And this is where we hit a massive cognitive bottleneck. The adult human brain has a working memory limit. We can only hold about 4 to 7 pieces of information in our active consciousness at any given time.
Only 4 to 7.
Yeah. So when you try to formulate a complex philosophical thought, search a limited mental database for unfamiliar vocabulary, and simultaneously apply foreign grammar rules, you instantly max out that working memory limit.
The brain just blue screens. It crashes from having too many tabs open.
Yes, that is cognitive load theory in action.
Right.
You overload the system, which causes the hesitation, the stuttering, and ultimately the total freezing up that kicks in the affective filter we discussed earlier.
It all connects.
Right. So the guide's instruction to think in simple English is not about dumbing yourself down permanently. It's a strategic, temporary reduction of cognitive friction. By intentionally keeping your thoughts simple, like, I am busy today, you bypass the working memory bottleneck entirely.
This was the major aha moment for me. Fluency is a speed metric, not a vocabulary metric.
That is an excellent way to frame it.
It totally changes the goal.
Yeah.
If fluency is about the unbroken flow of communication, then simplicity is not a weakness. Simplicity is the ultimate tool for speed.
Exactly.
By accepting that your thoughts must temporarily be basic, you remove the processing delay of translation. You allow the words to flow directly from thought to speech without the middleman. That uninterrupted flow, even if the vocabulary is at a kindergarten level, is what the listener perceives as fluency.
You're trading complexity for momentum, and momentum is what keeps you engaged in the practice long enough to eventually build up the complexity later on.
I buy the cognitive load argument entirely. It makes perfect sense. But I have to be honest, when I got to the final section of the source material, I hit a massive wall of skepticism.
Uh-oh. What was it?
Well, the guide moves into these active repetition exercises to bridge the gap between theory and reality. It has the listener repeat phrases to build muscle memory, like, I can speak English. Then it lengthens it. I can speak English with confidence. Then it moves into essential daily dialogue. Good morning, how are you? I'm great, how about you?
Right, the drills.
Yeah, and the instructions are very explicit. Take your time, speak slowly, don't rush.
The instruction to speak slowly is actually doing a lot of heavy lifting there biologically.
Really? How so?
Well, when we're nervous, our heart rate spikes. Our instinct is to rush through the uncomfortable experience just to get it over with. But rushing increases the error rate, which increases anxiety, creating a vicious cycle.
Makes sense.
By intentionally slowing down your speech, you're utilizing biofeedback. You're physically signaling to your nervous system that you are safe. A calm heart rate keeps the affective filter down, allowing the cognitive parts of your brain to remain online and access that working memory.
So you basically act calm to become calm. I can see the value in that. But it's the very end of the guide that made me roll my eyes a bit.
The mantras.
The mantras. It ends on a series of closing mantras. The phrases are, I can do it, I am improving every day, and I will never give up.
Right.
As someone who analyzes human behavior, I have to ask you, does parroting these basic self-help cliches actually do anything mechanically? Like, does repeating, I am improving like a robot actually change your brain? Or does it just give you a fleeting, warm, fuzzy feeling?
Your skepticism is entirely warranted because we often associate those phrases with, like, hollow toxic positivity.
Exactly, the live, laugh, love stuff.
Right. But in the context of skill acquisition, they actually serve a deeply mechanical function grounded in what psychologists call self-perception theory.
Self-perception theory.
Yes. Normally, we think our beliefs dictate our actions, right? I believe I am confident, therefore I speak confidently. But self-perception theory suggests it often works in reverse. We observe our own behavior, and then we infer our attitudes based on what we see ourselves doing.
Wait. So we watch ourselves act and then decide who we are based on that action.
Exactly. When you're a beginner at anything, your internal narrative is usually quite negative. I am bad at this. I am an imposter.
Oh, totally.
If you rely purely on internal feelings, you'll probably quit. But when you physically articulate the words, I am improving every day, slowly and intentionally as part of your daily 30-minute practice, you are forcing your brain to observe a new behavior. You're hearing your own vocal cords project a positive reality into the room.
So it's like tricking your brain.
Kind of. Over time, through that myelin-building consistency we talked about, your brain observes this daily behavior and begins to rewrite its own internal narrative. You stop seeing yourself as a fearful beginner and you start identifying as a confident learner.
Wow. So the affirmations are not magic spells. They are the architectural scaffolding. They hold up your new habit until the foundation is strong enough to stand on its own.
Beautifully put. They bridge the gap until the actual competence arrives.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? When we zoom out and look at this seemingly simple audio guide for English beginners, what we actually have is a universal, scientifically sound framework for tackling any intimidating endeavor in your life.
The mechanics of mastery are always the same.
Exactly. Whether you're stepping into a new leadership role, learning how to code, or finally picking up that language you've always wanted to speak, the blueprint is right here. First, you have to actively lower your affective filter by banishing the fear of mistakes.
Right.
You have to recognize that errors are not indictments of your intelligence. They're the vital data points your brain needs to recalibrate.
They're your teachers.
Second, you have to practice consistently. You aren't just checking a box on a to-do list. You're physically laying down the fiber optic myelin pathways in your brain, and that requires the relentless daily rhythm of 20 to 30 minutes. You cannot cram neuroplasticity.
You definitely cannot.
And finally, you have to cut out the mental middleman. You have to respect your working memory limits.
Because fluency is a speed metric, not a vocabulary metric.
Simple thoughts create fluent speakers. It is a powerful reminder that we almost always get in our own way by trying to be perfectly nuanced, instead of just being present and moving forward with the basic tools we have.
Which leaves us with a rather profound final thought to consider.
Let's hear it.
If it is neurologically true that simple thoughts create fluent speakers, as this guide insists, we really have to wonder about the broader implications of that in our everyday lives.
Amen.
Well, we spend an enormous amount of our mental energy entangled in complex translations, not just between literal languages, but trying to translate our raw, honest feelings into sophisticated, acceptable jargon for the world. We overcomplicate everything to protect ourselves.
Oh, Yeah, we do.
So how might forcing ourselves to think in the simplified, stripped-down terms of a beginner actually help us bypass all that anxious overthinking and finally reveal what it is we genuinely want to say?
That is a great question. Maybe stepping onto the field is as simple as realizing you don't have to play the perfect game. You just have to be brave enough to take the first step.